Linnea's finally coming to Genshin, and she's actually looking kind of insane. I don't think she's broken in a universal way, but if you plan on playing any type of lunar crystallized team, she's in F2 2.0. So let's just go through everything about her. Linnea is a 5-star Geobow user focused on support. She brings off-field Geo application, buffs for lunar crystallized reactions, healing and resistance shred, all scaling off her defense. As for her base stats at level 90, she has 9,895 hit points, which is not the highest. So she's a bit squishy up front, but that's okay since she's mostly off-field. Her defense comes in at 907 base, which is solid, around the same as other Geo defense scaling units. On top of that, her Ascension stat is 24.2% critical rate, which makes building her way easier if you want her off-field damage to actually matter. So overall, these stats fit her role perfectly as a defense scaling sub-DPS. Now let's move on to her elemental skill, and this is the core of her kit. It's what makes her such a flexible off-field enabler. Using it summons Lumi, Linnea's adorable companion, who stays on-field attacking in different awesome forms depending on how you tap the skill. A single tap puts her in super awesome form. In this form, Lumi starts wild hammering nearby enemies continuously, with each attack dealing 2 instances of AoE Geo damage. If there's a moon cage nearby, which you'll get from lunar crystallized reactions, she alternates those hits with powered heavy hammers that count as lunar crystallized reaction damage. So in a proper lunar crystallized setup, you're getting steady off-field Geo application, plus those extra lunar crystallized procs ticking away automatically. Now, if you repeatedly tap the skill instead, it goes into ultimate awesome form. In this form, Linnea feeds Lumi some shiny gems for a massive AoE Geo burst, and then switches to normal awesome form, where she keeps up the wild hammering, but at longer intervals, still hitting twice per attack with AoE Geo damage. The repeated tapping also boosts Linnea's interruption resistance, which is handy if you need to swap her on-field for a quick normal attack or something. So usually you'll be doing super awesome form for sustained DPS in lunar crystallized teams, and ultimate awesome form for popping big numbers during short burst windows. As for her elemental burst, Linnea calls Lumi into super awesome form if she's not already out, while dealing some Geo damage up front and then healing the entire team over 12 seconds. That healing scales off 75% of Linnea's defense, so once you stack that stat, it becomes a reliable sustain tool for endgame content. If Lumi is already active when you burst, it simply resets her duration without messing with her current form. Finally, her burst will have a 60 energy cost and a 15-second cooldown, so you can already tell energy recharge won't be a priority for her build. Now, onto her passives and Ascension talents, because this is where she becomes a real buffer. With Linnea's first Ascension passive, when Lumi is active, enemies near her get up to 30% Geo resistance shred if you're on Ascendant Gleam. As for her second Ascension passive, it provides elemental mastery to either the active character if they're from nodkrai, or to Linnea herself if they're not from nodkrai, based on 5% of her total defense. So if you give Linnea around 2,200 defense, which is very realistic with a defense Sands and Goblet, that's about 110 EM to your DPS. She also comes with the typical Moonsign Ascendant Gleam passive, which converts any hydro crystallized reactions in the party into lunar crystallize instead. And on top of that, it also increases the base damage of those lunar reactions by 0.7% for every 100 defense she has, capping at 14% around 2,000 defense. Now let's move on to her Constellations, and we can expect these to take her from a very strong support to potentially the best sub-DPS in the game, so they might be worth chasing for spenders, but C0 is already more than enough for F2P players, starting off with her C1, which gives her 6 stacks of something called Field Catalog when you unleash her elemental skill or trigger a Moondrift Harmony. These stacks last 10 seconds and cap at 18 total, and whenever party members deal lunar crystallized damage, it consumes 1 stack to boost that damage by 75% of Linnea's defense. On top of that, when Lumi uses her massive hit in ultimate power form, you can consume up to 5 stacks, with each one increasing that hits damage by 50% of Linnea's defense. Her C2 gives all Hydro and Geo party members 40% critical damage within 8 seconds after triggering Moondrift Harmony. On top of that, Lumi's massive hit in Ultimate Power form gets an additional 150% critical damage boost, and it also enhances her Moonsign Ascendant Gleam with a Moondrift Harmony auto trigger after Lumi hits an enemy in any form. Now, in my opinion, this is looking like the best stopping point for F2P players chasing Constellations. It's a big team-wide critical damage buff that fits perfectly in any Geo setup without needing more investment, while also giving Linnea a very solid personal damage boost. As for her C3 and C5, these are just skill and burst levels, which aren't negligible, but not very important either. Her C4, on the other hand, gives Linnea and your current active character 25% defense respectively for 5 seconds after triggering a Moondrift Harmony. And if Linnea's on field, her defense buff can stack. Finally, her C6 massively enhances C1. Unleashing her skill or triggering Harmony instantly grants the maximum number of her C1 stacks, and consuming them will also consume an additional number of stacks equal to twice the original number, giving a total increase of 150% of the original value. On top of that, it also enhances her Moonsign Ascendant Gleam to increase lunar crystallized damage dealt by nearby party members by 25%. This is obviously whale territory, but as you can imagine, this will probably turn her into the best sub-DPS in the entire game. Now, for artifact main stats and substats priority, Sands and Goblet should be defense percent to maximize both her buffing and damage capability, and Circlet, you can go for either critical damage or critical rate to get that juicy 1/2 critical ratio, as usual for any sub-DPS, but do keep in mind her critical rate ascension stat so you don't overcap. As for substats, prioritize defense percent first and foremost, then critical damage and critical rate, then elemental mastery total, and finally just some energy recharge, mostly for comfort, to make sure you get your burst every rotation. As for her best weapons, F2P players have some great options, including Slingshot, which is probably your best pick. It gives 31% critical rate, which lines up perfectly with her Ascension stat. Stringless is another solid 4-star option, giving you some EM alongside a big elemental skill damage boost. You don't need a ton of energy recharge since her burst has a very low energy cost, so weapons like Favonius or Sacrificial Bow aren't ideal here, although can still be very good options for content like Stygian Onslaught, where that extra energy might be needed. Now, if you're chasing her signature though, it's by far her best weapon. It comes with an 88% critical damage substat that pairs beautifully with her critical rate ascension, plus an extra 16% defense to juice up all her buffs even more. As for the passive, it gives Linnea herself 40% more Geo and Lunar Crystallized damage, and then 20% Lunar Crystallized damage to the entire team. This looks like a very strong signature and will make her a completely busted support for any Lunar Crystallized team. And speaking about her best teams, her absolute best team will definitely be Zebai Hyper Carry, which consists of Zebai, Linnea, Columbina, and Eluga. Here, she straight up replaces Goru, who's the go-to support being used in Zebai teams right now. Linnea brings superior off-field Geo application for faster lunar crystallized triggers. That massive 30% RES shred, plus her own damage and healing without sacrificing reaction up time. You can also slot her into Navia or Itto teams with Columbina and Farina as your last 2 slots. And she might even be viable in Hydro carry comps like Nuvolette with Columbina and Zilonin, but it's too early to say for sure until we get more beta testing information. So, now that we've covered all of her best teams, let's answer the question everyone's been waiting for. Is Linnea worth your Primo Gems? Well, in my opinion, she's probably the best pull value unit for anyone who plans on playing Lunar Crystallize. She's best in slot over Goru for Zebai, Navia, and Itto Hyper carries, providing a total 30% Geo-resistant shred, off-field damage plus healing and EM buffs on top of that. She elevates every major Geo DPS and slots perfectly into any team with Columbina. Now, if you don't have Zebai or aren't planning to dive into any Lunar Crystallized teams at all, she's honestly not a very high pull value character for your account. Her kit is so hyper-focused on that one reaction that without, You lose a ton of her unique buffs and synergy, making her feel like a standard Geo sub DPS at best. And that's your full Linnea breakdown. If this video helped your future pulling plans, make sure to subscribe and drop a comment with your personal takes on Linnea and whether you think she's game-breaking or not. I'll see you in the next one.